Although the festival's cancellation had left both merchants and visitors upset, Ghislain believed that a public duel like this could reignite interest and ease the tension. The scene shifted to a lively stage packed with an excited audience. Ghislain and Cain stood face to face, ready for battle, drawing a huge crowd. Many were eager to witness Ghislain's downfall. The buzz surrounding the duel brought life back to the town. Vendors reopened their stalls and tourists began shopping again. Among the crowd, a plump merchant shouted out betting odds, convinced Cain's victory was guaranteed. Most people, sharing the same belief, placed heavy bets in Cain's favor. Resting his large sword on the ground, Cain scoffed at Ghislain for turning a noble duel into a cheap public show. With a dark grin, he warned that he wouldn't stop his attack even if Ghislain chose to yield. Unbothered, Ghislain signaled that the audience was large enough and declared the fight ready to begin. Just then, the spy interrupted, stating the betting couldn't start properly yet. The plump merchant announced to the crowd that no one had placed a wager on Ghislain, a fact that didn't surprise anyone, as they believed betting on him was pointless. Cain ridiculed Ghislain, laughing that even his own people had no faith in him. The merchant then suggested changing the wager to guess how long Ghislain could survive. At that moment, Scoven, supported by Ricardo, stepped forward and placed a bag of gold on the table, declaring his bet on Ghislain, shocking everyone. Right after, Elena arrived and dropped an even larger bag of gold, boldly announcing her support for her brother, much to his own surprise. When asked if the amount was sufficient, the merchant confirmed it was. Belinda, nearby, reminded Elena she had warned her against taking such a risk. Cain, clearly annoyed by the delay, demanded that the duel begin immediately. The referees signaled for the duel to begin. Ghislain pointed out that, as the older cousin, it would seem odd for him to attack first. Cain, clearly unimpressed, dismissed the comment, saying it was far too late for Ghislain to play the big brother role. Once the fight officially started, Cain charged forward and swung his massive sword at Ghislain with full force. Ghislain managed to block the blow but was shocked by how heavy the weapon felt. Cain sneered, mocking Ghislain for trying to act superior. He then shoved Ghislain backward with his sword's hilt and immediately aimed it at Ghislain's head. Ghislain ducked to avoid the hit, but Cain followed up with a powerful kick. Though Ghislain dodged again, the ground beneath them cracked from the sheer strength of the blow, drawing gasps from the audience. Cain wasn't letting up, keeping Ghislain on constant defense with no chance to strike back. Smug and confident, Cain basked in the crowd's reaction to his power. Ghislain, however, remained calm, unfazed by Cain's display of dominance. Belinda, watching nervously, gripped Elena's arm and urged her to intervene before it was too late. Meanwhile, the spies watching from the sidelines smirked knowingly. They were certain Cain's usual tactic was in play. Overwhelm the opponent with brute force, forcing them to focus only on dodging until they tired out, leaving them open for a decisive blow. It was a method that had always brought Cain victory. As Cain's strikes became even more intense, Ghislain continued to avoid them with unexpected agility. Cain, slightly impressed, noted how elusive Ghislain was and admitted that his cousin had improved since their last encounter. Changing his approach, Cain gripped his sword by the blade and swung the hilt toward Ghislain, taunting him by saying he'd always been good at running away, even as a child. Ghislain blocked the strike with his sword, but Cain used the hilt to hook and hurl him into the air. The crowd watched in shock, assuming Ghislain was finished. The spy grinned, confident Cain had won. As Ghislain fell, he muttered calmly that he had intended to go easy on Cain, but now Cain had gone too far. Channeling mana into his legs, Ghislain stabilized his landing and immediately launched himself at Cain with incredible speed. Caught off guard, Cain gasped as Ghislain's blade pierced his abdomen. The spy, stunned, realized that Ghislain had used condensed mana to both steady himself and enhance his speed. Ghislain rebuked Cain, calling his swordplay foolish and accusing him of relying solely on brute strength and fear to win fights. Taking a proper stance, Ghislain declared he would teach Cain a lesson. Furious, Cain charged again. Ghislain responded by kicking Cain's sword to throw him off balance, then sidestepped and delivered a clean slash from Cain's shoulder to his hand. When Cain tried to retaliate with a thrust, Ghislain evaded it and stepped on the sword, pinning it down. Seizing the opportunity, Ghislain landed a near-lethal blow just beside Cain's neck. Blood dripped from several earlier cuts Ghislain had inflicted, leaving the crowd stunned into silence, until cheers broke out. No one had anticipated such mastery from Ghislain. Many who had bet on Cain began to regret their decision, while Elena, delighted by the unexpected turn, eagerly pointed it out to Belinda. Scovin watched with a satisfied smile as Cain examined his injuries and realized they were only minor. It dawned on him that Ghislain had deliberately held back and could have caused much more serious damage. Cain was baffled, unable to understand how his cousin had become so skilled with a sword. Ghislain gave Cain a sharp look and then, to everyone's shock, threw his sword aside. He announced that the difference in their abilities was too wide to make the fight entertaining. Turning to Cain, Ghislain calmly said he would finish the duel without weapons, using only his fists. Cain, clearly annoyed, demanded to know why. Ghislain, composed and confident, replied that this duel was meant to teach his cousin a lesson. As he rolled up his sleeves, he declared that the lesson would be taught with his bare hands.